In the early hours of March 1911, off the coast of northern Queensland, a modern passenger ship entered the sea and never returned. No distress signal was received, no survivors were found, and no clear trace of the ship was ever confirmed. Only silence. For decades, the ocean kept its secret. The ship was called SS Yongala. She was not a warship, not an experimental vessel, not a forgotten relic of a distant past. She was one of the safest, most advanced, and most trusted passenger ships of her time. Families boarded her with confidence. Crew members served aboard her with pride. Passengers slept peacefully in their cabins, unaware that before dawn, the sea would erase them from history. When the storm passed, the Yongala was gone. No lifeboats were ever recovered. No confirmed wreckage revealed her fate. No bodies were brought home. 122 lives were lost in the waters off Cape Bowling Green, leaving behind questions that would haunt Australia for more than 40 years. What happened on that night? How could a ship so strong simply disappear? And why would the ocean keep its silence for 4 decades? This is the story of the Yongala, the ship that vanished, and the mystery the sea refused to release. Before the Yongala became a mystery, before the ocean claimed her, she was a marvel of her age. The SS Yongala was built in 1903 in England for the Adelaide Steamship Company, a symbol of modern engineering in the early 20th century. At over 109 meters long, with a powerful triple expansion steam engine, a strong steel hull, and modern electric lighting, she represented the future of ocean travel. Although wireless communication was becoming common at the time, the Yongala did not yet have a radio installed on her final voyage, a fact that would later deepen the mystery of her disappearance. She was designed not for war, but for life. Her decks were lined with polished timber. Her cabins were comfortable. Her dining rooms elegant. Her lounges filled with light. Passengers boarded the Yongala expecting safety, expecting reliability, expecting arrival. And for 8 years, the ship delivered exactly that. She became a familiar presence along Australia's eastern coastline, carrying mail, cargo, crew, and families between the growing cities of the young nation. The Yongala did not chase storms. She avoided them. She did not gamble with the sea. She respected it. Her reputation was flawless. By 1911, no one questioned her strength. No one doubted her design. No one imagined she could simply vanish. Yet beneath her steel hull, beneath the confidence of a new century, the ocean was waiting. The Yongala was built to endure the sea, but the sea had other plans. On the 23rd of March, 1911, the Yongala departed Melbourne on what was meant to be a routine coastal journey. Her destination was Brisbane, with scheduled calls along the Queensland coast. By the time she reached Mackay, the weather was already shifting. Barometers were falling. The air had grown heavy. The sea was beginning to rise. Still, the Yongala pressed on. At 1:40 p.m. she departed Mackay northbound for Townsville. On shore, people watched her steam into the haze, her outline fading beneath the darkening sky. They would never see her again. As night fell, a powerful tropical cyclone swept across North Queensland. Winds screamed, seas towered, the ocean turned violent. Along the coast, telegraph lines fell silent. Buildings were torn apart. Entire towns were battered. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the Yongala was facing the storm. The ship carried no wireless radio on that voyage, so no distress call could ever be sent. No transmission, no flare, no warning of any kind. By morning, the cyclone had passed. The sea was empty. The Yongala had vanished. When dawn broke over the Queensland coast, the storm had moved on. The wind had eased. The sea, though still unsettled, had begun to calm. And yet, the Yongala did not arrive. By mid-morning, telegraph offices were waiting. Harbour masters were watching the horizon. Families were checking the docks. Still, no ship. At first, no one panicked. Storms delayed vessels all the time. Coastal steamers often ran late. The Yongala was strong, experienced, reliable. But as the hours passed, concern began to grow. By evening, concern had turned into fear. No wireless message had been received, and the Yongala carried no shipboard radio on that voyage. So none could ever have been sent. No confirmed sightings were reported. The shipping lanes were empty. The Yongala had simply disappeared. Search vessels were dispatched along the Queensland coast. Lookouts scanned the horizon. Beaches were patrolled for signs of wreckage. They found no clear trace of the vessel. No lifeboats, no confirmed debris, no survivors. Only scattered fragments on distant shores. Never enough to explain what had happened. Days passed. Then weeks. Families gathered in telegraph offices, hoping for news that never came. Newspapers printed lists of names, passengers, crew, children. Entire families lost together. In total, 122 people were gone. No witnesses, no answers. Australia was left with a mystery. How could a ship so modern, so trusted, so powerful, simply vanish? The sea refused to explain. In the weeks that followed the disappearance, hope slowly gave way to grief. The official search was eventually called off. There was no clear wreckage to investigate, no survivors to question, no confirmed shoreline evidence to examine. The sea had offered no answers. For the families left behind, there were no graves to visit, no final words, no certainty of how their loved ones had died. Only absence. Years passed. New ships were launched. New routes were opened. The world moved forward. But the Yongala remained missing. Sailors spoke of her in hushed tones. Coastal towns remembered the night the storm came. Charts marked the waters off Cape Bowling Green. But the ocean revealed nothing. For 42 years, the Yongala lay hidden beneath the waters of North Queensland. Storms raged above her. Currents shifted the sand around her hull. Corals slowly claimed her steel. And all the while, no one knew where she rested. The mystery hardened into legend. Some believed she had struck an unseen reef. Others thought she had been torn apart by the cyclone's waves. Some whispered that she had simply been swallowed whole by the deep. But without evidence, the truth remained locked beneath the water. The Yongala had vanished from the world of the living, but she had not vanished from memory. Not yet. In 1958, after 42 years of unanswered questions, the ocean finally broke its silence. Fishermen working off the coast near Cape Bowling Green began hauling strange catches from the deep. Metal fragments, pieces of old steel, objects that did not belong on the seabed. Something was down there. Divers were sent into the water. What they found stunned the nation. Resting quietly on the ocean floor, remarkably intact, but listing heavily on the seabed, lay the SS Yongala. Her hull remained largely whole. Her railing still stood. Her massive boilers were sealed inside her steel skin. The sea had preserved her. Inside the wreck, divers discovered scenes frozen in time. Shoes still lined the corridors. China plates lay stacked in dining rooms. Bottles remained sealed. Personal belongings, hats, clothing, letters, even the ship's safe, sat exactly where they had fallen in 1911. No signs of fire, no evidence of collision, no explosion. Only the quiet presence of a ship claimed by the storm, resting at last beneath the waves. The mystery that had haunted Australia for decades now had a resting place. But the ocean still refused to explain how the ship had died. Today, the Yongala no longer belongs to the storm that claimed her. She belongs to the sea. Over the decades, the wreck has transformed into one of the most extraordinary marine ecosystems in the world. Coral has grown across her steel hull. Sea turtles drift through her passageways. Giant groupers patrol her decks. Reef sharks circle her silent frame. What was once a modern passenger steamer has become a living reef, a sanctuary of the ocean. Yet beneath the beauty, the Yongala remains a grave. 122 lives ended here. No names carved in stone, no headstones on land. Their memorial rests beneath the waves, where sunlight filters down through blue and currents move gently across her steel. The Yongala teaches a quiet lesson, that even the strongest designs, even the greatest confidence, cannot command the sea. She reminds us of the fragility of progress, the limits of human certainty, and the power of nature when it chooses to take. The ship that vanished in 1911 has become one of Australia's most haunting underwater monuments, a place of wonder and of remembrance. And though the ocean kept her secret for 42 years, the Yongala now tells her story to everyone willing to listen. The Yongala did not go down in war. She did not burn. She did not strike land in sight of shore. She vanished into the dark. For 42 years, the ocean kept her secret. And when it finally spoke, it revealed not a scene of destruction, but a resting place. A ship preserved beneath the waves, remarkably whole, yet forever silent. The storm that claimed her is long gone, but the memory of that night remains. In the waters off North Queensland, near Cape Bowling Green, where sunlight drifts through blue, the Yongala still waits, not as a mystery anymore, but as a reminder of how fragile certainty can be, of how powerful the sea truly is, and of how quickly the world can change in a single night. The Yongala sailed into history and into silence, but she was never forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you found this story worth remembering, consider liking the video and subscribing for more history like this. New documentaries are added regularly,